Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Dojo Live. I'm Tulio Surgusa, broadcasting from Southern California. Today is Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022. Joining me today is Kim Lantis in Hermosillo, Mexico. Hi Kim, welcome back.
Hey, Tulio. Thank you. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
And our guest today is Daniel Choi, who's the CEO at Sequoia Games. And we're going to have an interesting conversation today. I'm kind of excited actually to show what you just showed us before we went on the air. It's gonna really trip people out what you guys are doing. But before we go into that, it's enough of a teaser for now. Just stay tuned. You won't want to miss this. Let's get to know you a little bit. Daniel, if you could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll find out what Sequoia Games is all about. Again, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, again, my name is Daniel, and my background has been a one-way street for quite a while until about 4 years ago. But I spent almost 20 years working for Fortune 100 companies, running regions, climbing the corporate ladder, and decided, you know what, I have other passions, and one of them was gaming. I was a world-ranked gamer in a particular genre called trading card games or collectible card games, and I love sports. So then I kind of came up with an idea. I can share with you a story of how that happened if you'd like later on. But you know, to give you a brief summary or synopsis of what happened is I decided to leave that career after 20 years and focus fully on building Sequoia Games. And the next thing you know, we have quite a bit of momentum and traction, and we're just at the tip of the iceberg. So extremely excited for that, and now living out a dream. And I have two sons and a beautiful wife, and we just have kind of navigated through some stormy waters together. But now we're on the other side of it, and it's certainly very, very rewarding to not only have built this, but also now being able to share that with the world.
So what do your sons think about moving out of Fortune 100 into gaming?
You know, they were my biggest motivation. I had a choice. I could either work another 20 years till I'm 65 and get a nice gold watch or whatever, or I could pursue what I wanted to, and I wanted to model for them. They should go for it. Go for your dreams. And even if I failed, I knew I could teach them how to fail. And thankfully, so far, it's been a good story. But I wanted them to know that, you know, me just paying some bills and a mortgage every month, and you know, that's really not why we're on this planet. It's to do something bigger, and we need to find that, and that's what makes life fun, you know. And sometimes people figure it out when they're 5 years old and they can play the piano like no other. And some people find it out when they're 80 years old and they finally decide to start painting. And have never done it. So, you know, everyone develops their own pace, but they were my biggest motivation. And of course, they're very avid basketball players and basketball fans. We spend almost all our weekends watching them play tournaments and things. So to say the least, they're pretty thrilled.
Amazing.
Cool. And it's like, what else can you say? That's a wrap. We don't have to talk anything else on Dojo Live.
I mean, that's amazing. It's awesome. What a great message and great example. So tell us about Sequoia Games. What is it? Oh, I'm assuming sports is big in Sequoia Games, but please tell us what it's all about.
Yeah, so our mission is to bridge what I call the Great Divide. And the Great Divide is you're either playing 1935 Monopoly, which is what when it was patented, believe it or not, or you're on a console or some sort of mobile device. In other words, you're in the digital world or you're in the physical world. And I think the next iteration of entertainment and gaming will be the interaction of the two, the merging of the digital and the physical. And we've seen teasers of this in movies like The Avengers, where Tony Stark is moving things around in the air, grabbing things. I really believe my grandchildren will say, "Hey, Grandpa, you use the mouse?" Yeah, I actually used the mouse, and we had keyboards. You know, it's like the old rotary phones. And I think this is the inflection point. And we want to lead this charge by, number one, partnering with the new hardware that is coming out. It is going to happen. Holographic devices, augmented reality glasses, you know, that are much more streamlined and wearable but also partnering with them not only on the tech side, but delivering software that's fun. I left that 20-year career, not because I wasn't successful, it's because I wanted to have more fun. And I think Sequoia Games was founded on the basis of bringing joy. That's really our mission statement, is to bring joy. I think as a world, even as a country, we are so serious these days. And I don't believe we're on this planet to just be serious all the time. We're here to enjoy all the things around us, and sports and gaming is an easy way to find that. And I think parents these days are trying to get their kids off of devices, and at the same time don't want to bore them to death. And at the same time, board game sales still, I couldn't believe this when I did the research a few years ago. Board games still make $21 billion a year.
Mm-hmm.
You find 2 aisles of board games at Target and Walmart still. So they
Yeah.
are selling.
But
And
it's like gaming and sports, that's pretty much as old as civilization, right? I mean,
that's right. That's right. So we should have more fun. And that's kind of the gist of why Sequoia Games was founded and led to us to some of our first products.
All right. I like it. So let's have some fun and go right into the topic today. The topic is interesting, kind of reminiscent of the Matrix a little bit.
yeah, I'm all
Kim,
thinking like Ready Player
Kim, let's
One
kick
or
it off.
something in my head here.
Let's kick it off. See what we can learn.
Yeah, the topic is chosen today by Daniel is bridging the gap between the physical and digital worlds. And together we're going to explore the future of gaming as the world merges technology and the real world. We kind of already laid this out, but what is it? Can you explain how Sequoia Games is creating this merge, the physical with the digital?
Yeah. So what we've done is crafted a physical game. It looks like a board game with really unbelievable art and a good quality premium feel to all our products. In fact, on eBay right now, our products are listed for hundreds of dollars already.
So it's heavy, right?
It's
Going back
not
to
heavy.
remember in Jurassic Park, is it heavy? Yes, then it's expensive. Put it down.
Yeah, it's got a good feel to it, and we were conscious about the weight too, because we wanted kids to be able to hold a stack of them. But surprisingly, our biggest audience is not kids, at least not yet. We have people spending thousands of dollars, and they're usually people between 25 and 40 that have just taken to this type of new environment. But
Yeah.
Let me
You
show
have
you.
your own money to spend. You don't need parents' permission.
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of like that. And so I'll start with just my phone. Do you guys see this on?
Ooh,
on
let's see it. Let's see it. Let's see it.
So this is just my camera
Hold
view.
on one
and
second.
these are,
We're not quite loading. It's working. Let's wait here.
okay.
I can't see anything yet. Can you? Tulio?
No. Does Ruben
No.
need to do anything in the background?
There we
Oh,
go.
there
There we
it
go.
is.
We can see your phone now. Oh,
Awesome.
perfect.
So this is my phone, and these are a sample of the 239 hand-drawn pieces of art that we've sealed in this beautiful acrylic. You can see how amazing these are. I don't have huge hands, they're average size, but you can see they fit perfectly. These are called Flexagons. The game is called Flex NBA, and these are hexagons. So we have a term that we've created called Flexagons, and you can see each artist. We have 9 commissioned artists, all with a different style, bringing these characters into an alternate universe where we have superheroized the athlete and given them special powers called flexes. And of course, this is a game. It's not a basketball.
It's like physical NFTs.
Well, there is some technology there. We have patents that we hope to announce soon, but can't divulge too much of our secret sauce. But there is an encryption and a way to register these things. I'll show you a quick demo of that in a second. But this is only the beginning. I just wanted to show you the physical kind of feel and look. Let me go now into the app. And this is downloadable. We launched in September, but we really just shipped out our first major container to all the big retailers across the United States recently. We unfortunately were, like many retailers, were hit with a massive delay at the ports of Long Beach, California. But the first thing I did was click on the middle button of the app, which is called the AR view. And what you're going to see is another view of this using the camera on any mobile device, Android, Google, and you can see those same physical Flexagons will come to life. Okay,
that is a trip.
Wait, so what you're showing right now, you're actually right now live grabbing this piece and showing us this dude in red, right?
And
this isn't a recording. This is live.
That's right. A little bit of a glare.
It's
that's
like
my
a
finger.
hologram.
That's right. In fact, most people
prove it. I want to see you snap your fingers. Snap your fingers and throw me a peace sign.
Wow, that is so cool.
When we show this,
I'm genuinely impressed with this.
Well, a lot of people think these are CGI videos. It is not a CGI video. These are live, custom animations for each one. You can see embedded. We can put instructional videos. You can see pops right up there. They also interact with each other. So if I took Stephen Curry, and you may know he has a teammate who's also very famous named Klay Thompson, and if I put him right next to each other, they will recognize each other and do a little pre-game routine there. Yeah, I'll put now these are teammates. We also have rivalries. So for example, if I took Giannis, who's on the Milwaukee Bucks, and I put him next to Jason Tatum, who is on the Celtics, you can see they kind of playfully taunt each other. You know, we're going to challenge each other. And this is, if you've ever watched Star Wars and you saw the 3D chess that they were playing on the Millennium Falcon, that's really what we've done and brought this to life. You can share this with your social media right from here, create GIFs, Twitter, Instagram, show off to people what you have. And then the last piece I'll show you is also within the app, which is the bottom left button called roster. And this is, again, fusing the digital and physical worlds. This roster is a digital record of your physical purchases, which is really quite neat. And it's a chain of custody, so that even 100 years from now, if you're the original owner, you'll be listed as the original owner. And the way that works is in the bottom right, you'll see a gold plus button that says register your Flexagon. And if I click that, you'll see a barcode scanner comes right up. And each of these has a code. So even if I produce 10,000 of these Steph Curry Flexagons, each one will be different, like a fingerprint. And so now I've registered this to my username. Nobody can steal it. Nobody can counterfeit it. You can't have a duplicate. None of that is in the mix anymore. Whereas nowadays, who knows if the memorabilia you buy is real? Now, if I were to sell this or trade this, I would simply long press over the Flexagon. You'll see a Flexagon token number comes up, and then I would deregister this from my account, and then it would now be no owner, and the second owner would then be logged once they register it to their account. So what's really neat is now that we know you own these physical pieces, you can start to upgrade them, go to different events and get more powerful and that sort of thing. It really enhances the gameplay. But we can now do that because we know you own a very specific Flexagon through that technology we have developed. Right. And you can see, for example, this Giannis has a MVP floating around in gold. Do you see that? That's because this is his rare MVP. That's a badge that only appears on some of these. You can see some of these also have, different characteristics that you'll be able to pick up only when you view it under the camera. Okay, so that's a quick show of how we did it. You can see this one says rookie.
I am so curious. How does that? Is that like a hologram on those little Flexagons? How do you get the image like this?
Yeah, we code so I just showed, this is our box. You can see even it comes to life. We've embedded code within the imagery that allows for this. I don't know why people love this sticker, but I just show the sticker all the time and they flip out. They're like, oh my gosh, the sticker comes to life.
It's super cute.
Even our promotional sticker comes to life. So, there's two facets of it. There's the augmented reality piece and then our unique registration system. So I don't want to spend too much time on the product, but that's
so do you actually, I'm sorry for the interruption. Do you actually play with the Flexagons? Did I say that right? Or is it just like a token that you have? Like, what's the actual gameplay look like?
Yeah, so we've superheroized each athlete. So they have special moves. That's why it's not a basketball game where you're shooting baskets. And in fact, we've had some game reviewers who don't even like the NBA who really appreciate the gameplay. What you're able to do is you flex on your opponents, your special move. And for athletes, it's moves they've worked on since they were 5 years old. And now they're professionals, so they're really good at it. But each player has unique characteristics that fit there, and you're going to strategize and build a team. And I'm going to play you, and we just take turns flexing on each other. The ultimate object of the game is to reduce your opponent's confidence to 0. Okay. And the way you do that is by flexing so hard on them that they're mentally defeated. And you know, I don't want to spend too much on gameplay, but there's all sorts of videos and instructionals online that people
Got it. It reminds me of the traditional
so cool.
rock, paper, scissors. You just kind of keep going until
you just go back and forth.
Okay.
I have to ask Daniel, how does this come into play with this whole concept of, you know, this big movement toward the metaverse? Is this meta ready? What's the thinking here? Where are we heading? Are we going to see more of this, or the application you think beyond gaming, where you might even have a personal assistant that pops up and helps you with stuff? Like, this has opened up all kinds of possibilities. And is this technology like patented or more of an open source thing? What I know it's a lot of questions all at once. What are your thoughts on
real
where
quickly
this is going?
I'll start with the patent because that's an easy one. Yes, it is. There are patents that are both published and ready to publish very soon here that we've developed in terms of this space. So that's number one. Number two, the metaverse. You know, we have an internal joke here at Sequoia Games. We've been using the username Flex Meta for over 19 months. And we like to say Zuckerberg stole that from us when he renamed Meta just a few months ago. We had a long-term vision at Flex. This is a platform, a gaming platform. As you're recognizing, it's built on Rails. And there's so many different applications that this could go into, especially as the hardware starts to evolve. Apple was rumored to release their Apple goggles in 2021. They didn't announce that. There are still rumors that they may announce it in 2022. But what goggles are like an iWatch, an Apple Watch, where the processing power is not in the glasses, it's in the phone or the device, and it's tethering through that. Right now, you have VR headsets that are very big, and that's because they're putting the battery, the computing processor, everything in this thing, and you start sweating, and it's heavy, and it, you know, the hardware is starting to evolve. Samsung debuted a projector, a holographic projector at CES. They're developing a holographic phone. A few years ago, they said they were going to come out with a folding screen. We all said, what? And then it's out now. They have a folding screen phone. You know, this hardware, I just showed you a demo using my phone. You could use an iPad, whatever, but you won't even need that in a couple of years. You'll literally just put these glasses on. Everything will come to life, almost like in one of the Spider-Man movies where Tony Stark gave him some sunglasses and you could see people's stats and data come up right there in real time. This is just the beginning. It really is. And Tulio, you bring up a very good point. I think you're going to see a lot of applications with this. We're very pleased to be one of the front runners here. And gaming and entertainment is such an easy transition. So I do believe this is the future. You know, Atari came out in 1981 or 82 or something like that. If you think about it, it's 40 years already. And how much clearer can these graphics get? There's a limit. There's a limit. Even now, if you play a sports video game, you can see the sweat, you can see the wrinkles. You know, how much more clear can it get? In other words, we're approaching what I think is a technology cap in the 2D space. And it's getting better and better and better and better. But then what? Now, I did go to Disneyland recently, and I saw Star Wars characters literally come out of the ground in 3D holographs. That's what I believe is the future. Is now I'm in my physical environment, like the Matrix, okay, like the Matrix, but I'm interacting with a digital world as well. And it's the combining of the two. And I think you'll see a movement towards that. We may be heading towards a society where keyboards, mice, even monitors don't exist anymore. And I think we need to start thinking that way. The technology is catching up to the ideas we've seen in movies, and it's exciting.
Wow.
I'm curious. It is super mind-blowing. What are the applications that you envision for this beyond entertainment? And what are the ultimate, I don't know, like the value propositions, right? Why should it matter to us to get smaller, more portable, to have everyone connected
I mean,
with
could you
such ease?
imagine you open your textbook, and a hologram pops up, and the teacher starts giving you a lesson without ever leaving your room, and you
Are
just
you able to read my mind? Because one of the applications that we have really start to explore is education. Even math, putting two things together and showing 5 + 4 is 9. History, showing an actual 3D video of the Mona Lisa, in your textbook. These are things that I think will enhance not only in education, training, for professionals. There's so many different ways this can go, because I always like to say this: as much as we're growing into a digital world, I still have to get into a car to go to work. I can't digitally go to work. I mean, with Zoom, yeah, kind of, but we live in a physical 3D world. And I don't think the answer is to do what the Matrix does, which is completely immerse you in that digital world. I
Right.
don't think that's viable. And
Well,
that's why
I
parents.
think the name of your company, Sequoia Games, kind of alludes to that. I was just thinking, we have this, you just showed us, this shock and awe factor of, the physical and the digital world merging. But then you've got to think of the sequoia trees, and like, you got to step out into the real world. And
Yeah.
I don't think there's much more shock and awe than what nature itself is providing.
Right.
Was that what, am I right with that? Is that the intentionality behind the name of your company?
Yes, I took a trip to Sequoia National Forest, and I learned about these trees that have withstood the test of time for thousands of years. Some of them are 2,000 years old. They survive forest fires. They're disease free. They fight off pests. And there's something about nature that balances out the technology. And we want to do that. Everybody is trying to make their new game better from a digital standpoint. And I've always learned, when the crowd goes one way, sometimes you can find a faster other way, by thinking unconventionally. And what I've done is thought, let's go back to the roots. And the proof is in the pudding. Monopoly, the board game, would not be still the #1 board game in the world if people weren't spending Friday night with their families and friends playing it.
Right, but Monopoly can now be reinvented with your technology,
Right.
where the characters actually are a holograph walking around the board and the whole. I mean, how cool would that Monopoly be? And actually get a bunch of younger people to play it.
How
So,
about tracking how many times the top hat passed go?
right.
How
Nice.
about tracking your stats?
You won't have to worry about your cat interrupting the game.
Well, when I was younger, we would play Monopoly for like months. We would make note of where we left off and continue. It was that kind of Monopoly game. So, but with this, everything is automatically registered. You close it down, and then you set the board up, and it goes right back to the way it was.
That's right.
So many applications for this, which is why I really like the idea of education, because it could just pick up where you left off. You don't
That's
have to think about it.
That's right.
All right. So, what kind of genius come work there to make this happen? We're curious about, the day in the life of working at Sequoia Games.
So it started with my boys, as I mentioned. Not only did they motivate me from a inspiration standpoint, I was spending so much time and energy buying these Pokemons and collectible things like that. And again, a big part of me making the switch over was the creativity, having fun, and ultimately the culture we've built here is one on innovation. Think outside the box. And as we've grown the team, which we've had to do aggressively over the last year or so, the first thing I want is leaders. Everyone to be a leader. I joke around, and restaurants have been in my family history, so I say this kind of with a background in restaurants. But if I wanted order takers, I would just go to the restaurant. I don't want order takers. I want people to think creatively and constructively, push back on each other in a friendly, open, respectful environment where everyone has a voice and ownership and skin in the game, to where they feel a sense of pride in what they're developing. And they have ideas that I would never have. And That's the beauty of a company. I think too many times, and being part of corporate culture for 20 years, as I mentioned earlier, you learn there is a hierarchy, and unfortunately that hierarchy stifles people, and a lot of times stifles ideas that you could see right around the corner. Here's a solution, but no, you have to go through this red tape. You have to clear it with this, and then you have to check with this, and then you have to check with this, and the next thing you know, it's a Titanic ship that is sinking. And so ultimately, coming to work at Sequoia Games, it starts with that fun factor. Are we having fun? Are we bringing joy? Are we getting people to go, whoa, what is that? We were in Las Vegas for the sports licensing tailgate show a couple weeks ago, and there was this elderly gentleman who must have been in his 70s or 80s, and he could not stop looking at our stuff. It was like looking at a time lapse of him as a boy, just looking at this and going, oh my gosh, what is that? That's the reaction we're trying to get. Now, there can be more serious applications, Tulio, as you mentioned, of this technology, which we're exploring as well. But for the most part, right now, we're built on creativity, fun, innovation. Let's make some noise. Let's go out there and say and put a stake in the ground. And ultimately, when it's very, we've seen this before when the internet first came out, when mobile phones first came out, when television started getting thinner and thinner and thinner, and we've seen this before. But I think as a world, the gaming and entertainment has to catch up to the ideas that we've seen, and this is a perfect time to do that. If we tried launching this 10 years ago, it wouldn't have worked. The mobile phones didn't have the technology. The iPads didn't take. So it takes both opportunity and that creativity to work, and that's what we've built.
Well, 100 years ago, if you spoke of something like this, you'd be hung on a stake for witchcraft. So it's kind of interesting how technology has evolved.
It is.
Kim, you're pixelated.
Oh,
All right. We're not hearing you very clearly. Hopefully it'll clear up in just a second. So, Daniel, is this your first startup, or you've done a few others in the past?
Yeah, I've led 2 other startups. One was a failure. Not a whole failure, but it did obviously get to the point where we needed to be. And I thought it was a fantastic idea. I still do, but things happen for a reason. And it gave me a lot of insight into mistakes I've made in the past and what I wouldn't do again. Now with that is part of my experience, I think of it as almost a badge of honor. And that's why I can talk about it so comfortably. And chalk it up as a huge building block for the velocity we've been able to build Sequoia Games with. Without that experience, we had to move quickly, and we were able to do that. And so this is not my first rodeo, but certainly the first one where I think we have some serious legs and we can start running.
Yeah. I have a different attitude about failure, and that is it's just a successful way to discover what you don't want to repeat.
Mm-hmm.
So is it really failure or just a lesson?
Right.
Thanks for sharing that with us. So Kim has a couple of questions she posted here in the chat, but I think her internet cleared up. So I'm going to just let you ask them directly, Kim, because they're good questions.
They're good? Yes. They are good questions. If you can hear me okay. These actually came through the audience by a man named Daniel Franco. Daniel, all right, here we go. So we'll try to get through both of them. The first one is, why is there an NFT tied into physical goods? And he was wondering how we could perhaps guarantee that the chain of custody is available. Is this decentralized, is his question.
So we're building right now a portal where you can search all of our physical goods and see that chain of custody. As far as tying an NFT, again, there's some secret sauce there I can't quite divulge. We are very pleased to report that our patents are making good progress. So hopefully I'll be able to talk about it a little bit more freely. But generally, your question, what was his name again?
Daniel.
Daniel. Oh, okay. Daniel's question is along the same ways that we operate and think. So number one, how do we guarantee it? It's completely transparent. It's searchable. And one of the reasons we decided to go with a physical product is in the digital only world, I have questions about sustainability. What I mean by that is when you have an unlimited supply of something, if you ever studied economics, pricing is the intersection of supply and demand. If you have a theoretically unlimited supply of product, which you can do through a digital asset, then price is simply determined by demand. And demand is another word for hype. So you can hype up anything, raise the price of it, and then when the top 2% decide to sell, they sell and cash out, and the 98% end up wondering, where's my money? Now that we've seen that cycle over the last 4 or 5 years, and I think tying a supply chain constraint to a digital asset through a physical asset now makes it sustainable, makes it have an economically viable price model, which means you won't see that viability, brings legitimacy, and now you have something real. In fact, I don't know if you've seen, but Top Shot is one of the more popular digital only crypto type companies out there, and people are buying necklaces and picture frames to show off their digital assets because there's nothing physical there. And even then, they don't own those videos. They don't retain actual ownership. You own, when you buy a Flexagon, you own it. This is a physical good of rare quantity, that you own. And now you have all this amazing technology so you can upgrade the gameplay, upgrade your experience, and really create a living, breathing digital asset out of something physical. And our theory is that this is one of the major ways to now capitalize on this great technology that's out there.
Thank you.
We're over time. We could go on for a whole hour. There's so much to learn here. We're just really impressed with this approach that you've taken, and marrying physical assets with digital and creating basically a new offering, which has so many applications. Some old games like Monopoly could be brought back to life with this kind of technology. There's so many things that could be done. And future, not just for fun. Who knows how this will evolve, education and so on. So great to have had you on the show. We have to wrap. We're done with time. It's always like that, but we wish you a lot of success. We'll have to have you back sometime in the future. I kept thinking he'd be awesome to have on our design thinking segment, because I'd like to learn how you actually went through this process of creating joy, because design thinking is heavily rooted in empathy. And so it's not just a transaction, it's the feeling you can create for people. So I'd be curious to hear what you guys have done there at Sequoia Games, and maybe we could share that with the public through another segment. Stay with us as we go off the air in just a second. Kim, what do we got coming up for the rest of the week?
Sure. Speaking of the design thinking segment, we do have one happening tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock Pacific, and that is with Mark Bruno, VP of Product at Sensible Weather, where we'll be talking about innovating platforms around B2B to C and complexities. And then tomorrow afternoon at 12 o'clock Pacific, we'll be talking about how, again, different type of gaming now, mobile games will drive growth in the future. So an approach of how games can get 10 times their growth with next level personalization. So kind of right up your alley there, Daniel. And that's with Tom Hammond, CEO at UserWise. So we'll see you tomorrow on Dojo Live. Thank you, Daniel, so much for being here today.
Thank you.
See you in the morning, 10 a.m. Pacific again. Be well. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon for those of you watching on the East Coast. This is Tulio Siragusa, and this is the Design Thinking Show by Dojo Live. Welcome. Today, my guest is Mark Bruno, VP of Product at Sensible Weather. I'm looking forward to speaking with Mark. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So we're talking about design thinking. How does that apply into developing go-to-market strategy, products, and organizational structures? And a great focus on design thinking is about empathy. What role does empathy play in delivering not just transactional values for users and people, but also meeting their emotional needs? And that's really the key, right? So today, our guest, we're going to go through 7 key questions to see what we can learn from Mark and from his company Sensible about how they're applying design thinking to their business. And hopefully, as you watch, maybe there'll be some pointers you can apply as well. But before we do that, let's get to know Mark. Mark, if you could please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Mark Bruno. I've worked in early stage and growth stage companies for most of my career with a focus on building teams. And I've been fortunate to a couple of times gone from a few people in a co-working space to hundreds of employees. I'm currently the VP of product at Sensible Weather. And so I work at the intersection of strategy and experience design. And so strategy is about understanding our market, our position in that market and our opportunities, as well as our differentiators and our competitive advantage. And then experience design for us is about taking that market understanding, pairing it with deep insights about our users, and developing a product that drives real value for those users.
Great. Well, tell us about what Sensible does. What is the company all about? What's the value you guys are delivering?
Yeah, so Sensible Weather, we're a climate risk technology company, and our first product is we call a weather guarantee. And so this is for consumers in travel and outdoor and events. And in the most basic sense, you can think of Sensible as the people that pay you back when weather makes your outdoor experience less enjoyable. And so we do this actually through our climate engine and our parametric platform. Essentially, we're able to understand climate risk for any type of weather anywhere in the world, and then our platform designs a custom weather guarantee for our users that gives them coverage that's useful for the experience that they want to have and at a price that makes sense for them. We're actually a B2B2C company. And so we work with travel brands, travel suppliers to offer their customers a weather guarantee when they're booking. So, whether it's a resort stay in Miami, you're going skiing with a family and you have rentals and lift tickets, or you're going to a Sox game in Boston, for example, we can provide a weather guarantee that would reimburse you if weather makes that experience less enjoyable. And so weather guarantees actually aren't cancellation insurance. Instead, you should think of a weather guarantee as being about your experience. So you still go, but if that experience is diminished or isn't what you wanted the experience to be because of weather, we'll reimburse you automatically. And what that looks like is, you wake up in the morning, let's say you're in Miami, for example, let's use that. And we'll actually check the forecast for you, figure out if the weather is going to impact your day, and we'll text you in the morning. It's like, hey, it's going to rain today between 1 and 4. Click this link to get your reimbursement. Click that link. We have simple reimbursements like Venmo, PayPal, bank transfer, and then get on with your day. Get out there and have an experience regardless of the weather.
All right, that's amazing. The topic you chose today was innovating in complex environments, design thinking in complex environments, specifically for the B2B2C marketplace. So let's see what we can learn because that's kind of a daring thing, right?
Yeah.
Guaranteeing something you can't control. And so it's pretty amazing. And so we're very curious to see how you guys are doing that. So if you had to explain to the audience sort of what methodologies were used to develop the company's go-to-market strategy, what would you say that is? I mean, there's so many different tools out there, right? You got Lean Canvas, you got the Wilder strategic map, but there's so many different ways to create a go-to-market strategy. But what were some of your methodologies that helped you figure out, let's go and create a guarantee for people so they can have an awesome day on something we can't control? So I'm curious how that came about.
Yeah, so weather guarantees aren't exactly where we started. We were founded in 2019. And so our technology is about understanding and mitigating climate risk. That's our core technology. And you can obviously see how that applies to so many consumer problems and so many business problems. But our original principle is this idea of building a consumer grade climate engine that could bring this data that historically has only been available to hedge funds and large insurance companies, bring that to everyday people, bring that to everyday problems. And so really our core, all of 2020, and 2020 was an interesting year for everyone. It was a very interesting year to be building a travel product for sure. So all of 2020 was about research, understanding user behavior, evaluating financial structures, and evaluating market forces.